Okay, so let's take a look at some quantum field theory textbooks. Now, this is a textbook by Peskin and Schroeder. Um, Many physicists say that this is the prominent textbook in the field when you're just learning the quantum field theory. But of course, these are physicists and not mathematicians. That's no insult to them, though. Every physicist has certain skills and a certain skill set that a mathematician might not have, and vice versa. Instead of attacking each other's fields, we should learn to work together to better progress, to better further human progress. Okay, and there's another textbook here by Matthew D. Schwartz called Quantum Field Theory and the Standard Model. This is my personal favorite. Okay, I think that this is the textbook that I would recommend you study from if you want to learn quantum field theory and you're getting introduced to the subject. Of course, this requires a prerequisite of classical mechanics alongside, probably an entire undergraduate study of physics. You need knowledge of special relativity and basically variational calculus that goes into um, special relativity, classical field theory, classical mechanics, and some electromagnetic theory as well. But it's well written. I recommend this textbook over Peskin and Schroeder for a first reading, because Peskin and Schroeder is a little bit more difficult or hard to follow. Now, for you mathematicians out there, this is a great recommendation. What is quantum field? What is a quantum field theory? A first introduction for mathematicians by Michael Talleyrand. I love this textbook because it offers an alternate perspective, okay, on quantum field theory from the perspective of a mathematician. It is very kind of aggressive towards physicists, and it likes to roast physicists often in the book. However, there's a lot of really good groundwork that's being done because ultimately Talleyrand is trying to bridge the gap between quantum field theory and mathematics, and I feel like that's a really valuable process. And there's a lot of theorems in here. I think this book should be studied if you are learning about the canonical quantization. If you want to go the canonical quantization route, you need to study this book because you need to understand the mathematical perspective from someone who's an expert. And Talleyrand is definitely qualified. He's a very qualified mathematician. Okay. Now there's a couple other books. So there's lecture notes by David Tong that exist online, and there's a book by Srednicki, also online, okay? And these are books on quantum field theory. However, ultimately, you can reference those other resources, David Tong and the book by Srednicki, but I recommend Matthew Schwartz here. I really like this textbook. Now, the one problem with the quantum field theory book by Talleyrand, I would say that this would be my primary reference, and I would probably recommend this above all others, except for the fact that it doesn't cover the path integral. It doesn't even mention the path integral except for randomly in an index page. Let's see if we can find this. It's actually kind of hilarious. So, yeah, it's actually insane because, well, I can quote the index. Essentially, it doesn't mention the path integral once, except for on like a random page. It's basically in a footnote, and the footnote says, we don't mention the path integral anywhere in this textbook because it's not mathematically well defined. So just a savage way to completely dismiss the path integral. But I actually think that that's a bit too savage because I think that the path integral is very important for the future of quantum field theory, and we're going to need to be able to put it on a mathematically rigorous footing. So at least some discussion of the steps needed to be taken to put the path integral onto a rigorous mathematical formalism would have been nice to see from Talleyrand, okay? But I can't disregard what he has done. What he's done is a huge work of trying to bridge the gap between pure math and quantum field theory, and I really appreciate his work putting into this textbook. So I want to shout it out. Shout out Schwartz. Again, this book already gets a ton of love from the physics community, but it's a bit over my head. I couldn't follow it, and to be honest, it was just a little bit too difficult for me, or a little bit too the exposition just wasn't there. It wasn't clear enough for me to follow. no offense, I would go Schwartz right here. Okay, so these are my quantum field theory textbooks. Now, I'm not an expert on the field. I've only taken a single graduate course on quantum field theory. So certainly there are other references and other ways you can study the material as well. But this textbook, it's actually new, and it's written by a mathematician. No previous knowledge is assumed, by the way. I should have mentioned that. These two textbooks are going to assume, and any textbook in quantum field theory is definitely going to assume that you have prior knowledge of physics. In particular, you should be knowledgeable about special relativity, classical mechanics, classical field theory, electromagnetic theory, and quantum mechanics. You should have thorough knowledge of quantum mechanics before you attempt one of these textbooks. But this book by Talleyrand assumes a passing knowledge of physics, but not really much knowledge beyond a high school level knowledge of physics. So this is really kind of interesting textbook because it doesn't actually assume very much prerequisite knowledge in terms of physics. It assumes very little prerequisite knowledge in terms of physics, and it's meant for mathematicians, people that can understand math, people with an undergraduate math education or equivalent education of an undergraduate math education can follow along with this textbook without being a physicist. So that is a great thing that he's offering. It's hard. It's not easy. Like, I'm making it sound like it's as easy as a first year grad level math textbook. Way harder. This is going to be way harder than a normal intro first year grad level textbook. Like, it's not an easy read at all unless you're experienced, but it's not too tough of a read either. Like, you can follow it if you work hard enough.